Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 23 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 49 today for the Belgian Grand Prix in Season 3. If you guys did miss the previous episode at the British Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. It was a rather explosive one for the McLaren boys. Piastri on lap 1 coming into contact with Fernando Alonso. We had a cracking classic battle with Leclerc, and then also Fernando Alonso getting very close through Magnus and Beckett's. Fernando and Leclerc did, and we managed to make a beautiful little double 2-for-1 pass on them following that little battle, and then the race ended with another McLaren casualty. Valtteri Bottas fully out of the Grand Prix. A massive race as Mick Schumacher won his second race of the season and his career, and it was a big one for all of us, chasing down McLaren and Piastri, with the team and the Australian scoring 0 points on the board, and now Max Verstappen is only 3 points behind Piastri in the Drivers' World Championship. It really looks like it's going to be Verstappen versus Piastri. You know, Verstappen's looked a lot better here in Season 3 than he ever did in Season 2, of course, where it was all Lando Norris really leading the charge for Red Bull. You can see he's below even our teammate and below Valtteri Bottas with all the engine failures he's had and the bad luck he's had this season for McLaren. For us, it was a decent Grand Prix, a bit of a team game one as we came home behind Pierre Gasly, protecting him from Fernando Alonso just to try and get the maximum we could for the team as we try and still pick up points, because I do believe, you know, with the right sort of, you know, momentum and the right upgrades, I think at the Constructors' Championship we can definitely be fighting McLaren. Obviously it's a fine balancing act, because I still do want to try and get the best engine built possible for our new engine build in 2026 Season 4, but at the same time, you know, it's hard not to try and do as well as we can this season either. It's a balance I'm trying to find. I think we're finding it so far, to the fact that we've now gone ahead and bought an ultimate front downforce upgrade. The rear one may have to wait until the very end of the season, because I think after that upgrade's come in, basically from now, I think I'll be saving up enough to then put in some more R&D for the engine build, as you would have seen the status of that at the beginning of the video. But in terms of the R&D chart, going into the Belgian Grand Prix, a lot of us staying stationary apart from the top 3 teams there, McLaren, Red Bull and Ferrari, bringing some, I think it looks like kind of minor or one major upgrade as McLaren stay on top on paper. Of course, it didn't really matter too much for them at their home race last time out, but they've got a little bit further ahead of Red Bull, it seems like, when we start to really zoom in to that R&D chart. So will they be back on form? They're going to have to hope to be, really, to try and bounce back from that, but we're kind of staying steady with Mercedes and Aston Martin. But as I've said plenty of times, the scaling of the R&D chart is so, you know, zoomed in compared to maybe previous seasons where, you know, we've still got a chance. You know, P4 and 5 last episode, really good when you actually look at where we are in the actual pecking order, you know, out of the top 10, but that's because everyone's so close together. So, you know, there are some performances still to be had and places to pick up, and hopefully the car will only get better with that ultimate upgrade on the way for next episode. But I think Spa is going to be a place where we can maybe use the 2 downforce upgrades we brought last episode to use a bit better. I think Silverstone, looking back at it, I think I got this set up a little bit wrong. I think I maybe put a little bit too little downforce for the circuit, you know, for Silverstone. It's a really high-speed circuit. You need a lot of downforce, whereas Spa, even though there are a lot of high-speed corners, it's a circuit where, you know, you've seen it in real life. The teams bring these skinny rear wings, and compromising, like the next episode in Monza, actually pays off a lot of dividends. So unlike in Silverstone, I think we've got this set up a bit better in terms of the wing angles, and having more downforce with those 2 upgrades last episode actually means you can run the car at lower wings and still have the same amount of grip. At least that's how it kind of makes sense in my head. So I think we are looking a lot better. You know, Q1 was hard to tell. We got a really decent tow from Valtteri Bottas, you may have seen there, because he was the car right ahead of us. In Q2, no such tow for us, but the second flying lap is a really decent one. There were a lot of people putting in quicker times there at the end of Q2, so I actually was initially P2, and then that went down to P8 by the end of it. Thankfully, it was still enough to get us through. You can see both McLarens also didn't go for another run, like myself at the end of Q2, and all 3 of us made it through, but some shock exit for Mick Schumacher, unfortunately, off the back of that race win, knocked out in P11. And it looks like for once those Ferrari upgrades are actually working. Both of them in the top 10, both of them in the top 4 in Q2. So our Ferrari, after a real season to forget, they're still so low in the championship. Is this going to be maybe them turning a corner? Can they deliver that same pace here in the top 10 shootout as we go through into Q3? It's a really good first sector. Purple in the first. Bottas this time is going to not give us a tow. Is going to get on our way. Thankfully, not as much as he did in Spain when he blocked us on the qualifying lap. Right now down in P8, but the first lap was just a banker. This second lap is really where we get the fuel down to the minimum. It's purple in the first sector, purple in the second sector, and it's going to be purple overall as we go on provisional pole position. Bit of time to find, though, in the last sector, apparently. Only green there, but we're ahead of Verstappen, Bottas in third place. But as we come through to the end of the session, Pierre Gasly has gone top. This car is flying around the Belgian Grand Prix. Leclerc second place. We're looking to make a minimal improvement. I think in the end we actually didn't even improve our lap time. I think we actually lost out just at the end. It wasn't a great final run for us, and that will be third place. But to be honest, I thought my lap, that first lap I did on that first run, that was the maximum. You know, what I've done here, a 139.393. Gasly, though, on pole position for the sprint. It's sprint pole, and Leclerc second place. Amazing for him and Ferrari, but he's got a 5-place penalty for the full Grand Prix on Sunday, so no matter where he places, he will have to go 5 places back. But very weird to see McLaren not turn up. I really thought they would just, you know, again be there, but this is a great turn for the books for the rest of us then. It's massive for Ferrari. It's massive for us as a team. I mean, Gasly again out qualifying us. He really is doing the job for us on the Saturday, and you know, it's just a matter of time before maybe things start to come good for him on the race day, because we go to the sprint. He is on pole for this. Can he convert it to the sprint win? Can we do anything as the lights go out and we're underway for this sprint around Spa? It's a shocking getaway for Leclerc in the Ferrari from the front row. We're side by side briefly with Gasly, but we can't really make anything of it, and Gasly pulls away from us by 6/10. Really good acceleration off that first corner. We had a bit of a drift trying to control the rear end of the car, but it's a 1-2 for our team at the moment on lap 1, so this is looking really decent for us. But what's going to happen behind Leclerc being swarmed by Verstappen, Bottas and Piastri, P5 and 6? I'm sure the McLarens will turn up the pace, and for us, we have a worn engine. What is the engine wear? Honestly, even though I've upgraded durability, I think to a decent level, you know, relative to how I usually upgrade on previous F1 games, and I've also bought those driver perks for engine wear, this internal combustion engine especially just wears out so much. It was, I think, on 40% going into this race weekend, and it's worn out by 20%. So that's going to actually reduce our power. So even though we've got this setup correct and in qualifying it was working well, Leclerc is now coming back at us, having had to kind of find his footing in this sprint and get into a rhythm. He tried to go to the inside. We squeezed him a bit, ultimately gave him the room to actually work with, but he sticks behind, and for now we're doing a great job at being a rear gunner for Pierre Gasly. But we go wide, understeer on the front end. Leclerc shoots it to the inside. It's going to be another cracking little moment between us and the man from Monaco in the Ferrari, side by side, inches away from making contact. Very, very close to Leclerc's side pod. But again, back-to-back episodes having some great and very respectful battling with the Ferrari car, as on the end of lap 2 we're still having to do a bit of defensive work through Blanchimont into the bus stop chicane. We go defensive. Leclerc is going to be much better on the brakes, and it's got me thinking I feel like maybe a brake upgrade is also overdue on the car, because genuinely if I go any later on the brakes there, I'm not confident in the car stopping properly and not locking up. So I feel like maybe, even though usually in F1 games I feel like brake upgrades make the braking worse, I think we're going to need some just to try and help us and maybe tweak the brake bias in future races. But we continue to scrap with Leclerc side by side through Rouge, up Radion, and now to the Kemmel Straight. Slight bit of contact as we try and keep this wheel to wheel, and we go from the left to right, and there goes Valtteri Bottas on the even further left of us to make it 3 wide. He goes round the outside of both of us. We're too busy fighting with Leclerc, and the Flying Finn has flown by into second place for McLaren. Meanwhile, Gasly 7.5 seconds ahead. Domination, really thanks to me, because my slower engine now, I've basically been a bottleneck for everyone, and Bottas has finally got ahead of that, and now he's already 1.3 ahead as we defend against Leclerc. Verstappen there, he tried to overtake Leclerc around the outside. He's actually ended up losing 2 positions, and he's actually now behind his own teammate, Lando Norris, and Piastri is the one up into P4, so the championship leader all of a sudden is the next car behind us, and I think we can kiss Valtteri Bottas goodbye, to be honest, because the engine, we just don't have the pace, and genuinely already now I'm thinking maybe do we take a penalty for the full Grand Prix? I didn't realise the ICE was going to be this worn, and on lap 6 you can see we're playing some very, very wily old fox moves here as we go wide and lock up into turn 1 to let Piastri by. And that's going to give us the DRS now on the Kemmel Straight. So using some very, very underhanded tactics, some would say, others might say 300 IQ plays. To be honest, just knowing how to play the DRS zone here at Spa to get back ahead of Piastri. But can we keep on doing this as Norris has a little snap at Piastri? He's on the mediums, Piastri is. The rest of us on soft, so he's going to have better tyres towards the end of this sprint race. And he's on the inside. He's going to really send it. And we just couldn't cope with him. He's got ahead of us, but we are going to be back in DRS with him. He's got the rear flap open right now, but through turn 1, again, we'll be behind him to re-overtake him. So we're just trying to maximise this sprint result right now because the car's just not got the pace. We've not got the pace in a straight line. Bottas is already 4.6 seconds ahead. He only overtook us, what, like 2-3 laps ago. So, yeah, the pace really is, we're having a bit of a stinker here, and we're just trying to do the most we can to collect the points. Piastri doesn't give us any room on the left-hand side there. We have to dip a tyre onto the grass. We go aggressive on the overtake and cut across him on the racing line to defend the position. So definitely no love lost between my first new signing in this My Team series in Season 1, if you remember. And to be honest, it's maybe a good thing for Piastri that we are not in a direct title fight with him, because every time we've come across Piastri on track, it's been a little bit close for comfort. We've not actually made any bad contact, though, and we always kept it quite respectful, I think. So, you know, it would be quite tasty to actually be in a title fight with him. But for now, we're just trying to annoy him, basically, because he's on his own kind of race. I'm just trying to pick up as many points as we can to help our season along as a team. Obviously, Gasly up there in P1 doing a job as we go for the repass, having gone wide at turn 1. It's that 300 IQ play once again for the final time it's needed. And this time, Lando Norris joins us at pinching in Piastri, and Lando gets up into P4, Piastri down to P5. That will be music to Verstappen's ears to not lose out as many points, I guess, in this sprint. But it's Pierre Gasly's day to shine in the sun here at Belgium. He wins the sprint, and I think he ran out of fuel just then on the line. He was very slow across the line there, so Gasly cutting it fine as ever, but he wins this sprint. It's his first, you know, win for our team. It's the sprint win, so it doesn't really fully count, but it's still something, and it's pole position, of course, for tomorrow's full Grand Prix. For us, we come home in a 3rd place, but genuinely, I think we're going to have to take a penalty. I think we're going to have to break part firme and just get a new IC. And because we're breaking part firme, I think that may mean we get a whole new set of components. Because if I go into that race now from P3, like this sprint, even if I have a great start again from P3 like I did in this sprint, I'll just go back to either P3, I'll be a bottleneck for the entire race, and I just won't be going forwards. If anything, I'll be able to just keep P3 or go backwards. There's no gaining from it. Whereas if we take the penalty from the back of the grid, at least with new engine components, seeing the performance Gasly had in qualifying, the performance he had in the sprint, there's clearly a lot of pace in this My Team car. You know, I think we've seen it in previous seasons. On this year's game with the My Team car, I think Silverstone was always a difficult one for the My Team car, whereas Spa actually on this game has been really, really decent for us. So I think we just go for it. We're going to send it, and we're going to figure out if it, you know, by the end of the race, if it's going to be the right decision. But we're going for it. We're going to take a back of the grid for tomorrow's full Grand Prix, whilst our teammate is on pole position. Let's go to the grid.
Welcome then, as we take a step back into the nostalgic golden days of motorsport. Spa is unashamedly a throwback, and all the better for it. Climbs, drops, sharp turns, chicanes, sweeping high-speed corners, all while taking in some of the most beautiful scenery that Europe has to offer. This might sound like a travel brochure, but it's not. It's a race day. Welcome along to Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. Spa-Francorchamps today, a circuit that spans 4.35 miles. There are tons of elevation changes along the way too. 19 corners making up this circuit, with 9 of those to the right and the remaining 10 to the left. This track's a great one for fans of pure speed, and the average lap speed comes close to a whopping 145 miles per hour. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. A fantastic effort from Pierre Gasly yesterday puts him on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Oscar Piastri, Sainz, Verstappen, Albon, Fernando Alonso, Mick Schumacher, Ocon, Ricciardo, Russell, Leclerc, Perez, Hülkenberg, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Théo Pourchaire, Liam Lawson, Stroll, Sargent, and the owner-driver rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. It's race day yet again, and joining me for a chat is Anthony Davidson. And our racers are certainly in for a rough day today. What will you be watching out for as they head into turn 1?
Well, the start of the race is always one of the most nerve-wracking parts. You have to hope that everyone is able to get off to a clean start, and this is possibly the trickiest part of the entire race. So many drivers in such a small space, and finding your braking point into turn 1 as well. It's a testament to the driver's skill that there aren't more incidents.
Some would say we've got the two most important positions of a race, first and last place. Those people are also delusional. I am one of them right now, I'm saying it. But anyway, we're last place. Our teammate's on the other end. I hope he has a good race. I guess we're going to... Well, the aim is to hopefully see how his race is going later into this Grand Prix. If we can actually see him down the road or on the mini-map. But we've got a long way to go from the back of the grid. Leclerc has that 5-place penalty, but he's going to be still in the mid-pack, I think. And what's the pace going to say for McLaren? Because Bottas, you know, once he got away from us, he was pretty damn quick. So I think he's going to be the biggest threat to Pierre Gasly today. As once again, I can't believe it's for the second time in like 3 episodes, we've got a car that has just got lost in the formation lap. This time it's the Sauber of Nico Hülkenberg, I think it is. Where was he when we got off the line for the formation lap? So he's still taking his sweet time. And in the end of it, the FI actually don't even wait. The game doesn't wait for him to come back through because the lap is so long at Spa that we just reform and he's magically there again as we go to 5 red lights. The Belgian Grand Prix, our teammate on pole position as lights go out. Stroll slow as ever off the line. Sargent as well, equally poor start, and we're up into P20, but we still have a mountain to climb and positions to climb as we're trying to thread it through into turn 1 to get Liam Lawson in the AlphaTauri up into P19. Hülkenberg next up in the Sauber. Meanwhile, Gasly has pulled away successfully and still leads after the first sector. It's Gasly from Norris, Bottas in P3, Verstappen's up to P4. He's had a lightning getaway, Verstappen. He's got ahead of Oscar Piastri. He was like 3 positions back on the grid, I believe, so it's a really good start for the man chasing down the championship leader as we look to try and thread this through. Ooh, dancing it round on the curb on Hülkenberg and having a good old scrap with the Sauber. Not for the first time this season, actually a few times, but we're up into P18 then, making progress, and we just have to keep ploughing on, making the passes when we can on Théo Pourchaire in the Williams. And next up will be Kevin Magnussen. Schumacher up in P13. He's not had a great sprint, and it's a very far from where he was at Silverstone with that P1. But I just want to note, he's on mediums. Hülkenberg was on mediums. The rest of us, most of us, I think all, are on soft tyres, and that's going to be an important factor, which I'll note a little bit later on in this race. But just keep that in your head that most of us are on softs. and Schumacher on mediums as we make quick work of Magnussen just then. And now we're watching Schumacher overtake Tsunoda. Can we get a 2-for-1 here as we're going to send it to the inside of Blanchimont? And now to the bus stop chicane, side by side with the German, the latest winner here in this season. But we're battling both for P14 and 15. Oh, how far the mighty fall sometimes as we get ahead of the German for P14. And up next is going to be Sergio Perez, the second Sauber of our afternoon. But this is where you're going to start to see the issue of being on the soft tyre. For us, and maybe others as well, it's the end of that next lap, and we're still not even near Perez. I've looked at my tyre wear. We're already, I think that was above 30%. I don't think my soft tyres were new sets of softs, and I don't think anyone on softs right now, which is pretty much everyone ahead of me from P12 all the way up to Gasly in P1. I think all of us have chosen softs, but none of our softs are fresh softs. They're all worn because obviously the sprint allocation is a bit different. Most of us use softs in the sprint as well, apart from Piastri. So as we overtake Perez, Schumacher has actually got a lot of pace in the tank on those mediums, and I'm not catching Leclerc. I know it's only been a lap since we've now gotten this clean air, but I could see the writing on the wall that I wasn't going to catch Leclerc. So I've let Schumacher by on purpose because on those fresher mediums, I'm guessing, for Schumacher, he's going to be so much better in every corner, especially Sector 2. He's going to be so much better. So I'm going to use that pace that he's got and drag myself along with DRS. So in Sector 1, in Sector 3, I can keep up with Schumacher because the DRS is pulling me along. I'm also deploying battery. I'm tactically saving it in Sector 2 and deploying it in Sectors 1 and 3. And that's going to pull me along, basically. And even though I'm losing maybe 4 or 5 tenths in Sector 2, I'm gaining it back in Sectors 1 and 3. So overall, I'm going to keep this gap with Schumacher. But the gap to Leclerc, which is 3.4, is hopefully going to start to creep down as we go on through this first stint. But yeah, I think everyone here on softs, I think they're all in the same problem as me. Their tyres are going to be over 30% already. But of course, the difference is I've got someone who's on fresh mediums near me to help me out maybe. But for the entire top 10, if they're in the same boat, then it won't really matter. It's really just going to be about the race pace and who's going to perform better on these worn tyres. And it seems to be Lando Norris in the Red Bull who makes the overtake 7 laps into this race. Gasly loses the lead. He's down to second, and he's eager to face the same sort of drop of pace that I'm feeling because we're both on softs, we're both in the same car. I'm sure he's feeling the pain I was feeling before we got this amazing little taxi service by Schumacher, because it literally is. And you can see there on the bottom right, I'm actually on purpose letting off throttle, not opening my rear wing, because genuinely sticking behind Schumacher has closed us up. The gap was what, 3.4? It's now 1.8 as we now come into the pits, and we're the first man in the pits because I can see what's happening in this race. It's like I'm seeing the entire race in 4D, and I just know we're going to get a massive undercut here. I'm telling you, everyone on those softs, they're going to be over 40-50% worn by now. And this undercut is going to be really solid for us. It's a good pit stop. We closed in 2 seconds or more already to Leclerc. We're probably going to close another second in on this undercut. I reckon we could actually get ahead of Leclerc by the time he comes in. But it's Lando Norris leading the way, 1.2 ahead of Gasly. So Lando's broken DRS of Pierre, unfortunately. So Bottas now is the one who's going to be a threat to him. But all those guys in the top 10, everyone else on softs, they're just going to start to lose time the more and more laps they do. Gasly's in. He's come in on the very next lap. So I think he's seen my pace on the hards and has decided, yeah, that's a little bit of me, as we come out ahead of Leclerc. There you go. The Ferrari's behind. And by about a second maybe, by the time he fully gets going out the pits and the Delta time updates, as we now chase after Lance Stroll and a couple of other cars that are yet to come in or who started on mediums, as we're going to make quick work of the Canadian for the second time in this race, overtaking him. There's a battle going on ahead of us, Lawson v Ocon, and we're going to swipe to the left, and it's going to be an exquisite double overtake. That was probably the smoothest overtake I've made on this game entirely, in this entire series. That was calculated perfectly. Didn't even have to lift off really, just turned in the right time, got on the curb a bit, kept inside the white line still, and made the double pass. Got Logan Sargent then, who's on very old soft tyres, and now we're watching Alonso trying to overtake Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg's yet to pit. Alonso has pit, but he's been held up a lot by Hulkenberg, and at this stage, maybe his mediums are still a bit colder than my hards, obviously, because we've had two more laps than him to heat them up. And of course, remember, this car is just magical on hards. I can't explain it. If you're new to the series, you know, in previous F1 games, I always hated going on the hard tyres. On this year's game, I absolutely love when we go on the hard tyres. We make the pass on Alonso into Rouge. We've already made the pass on Albon coming out the pits, and all of a sudden, we're into the points. We're into the points. There's still others yet to pit as well. Verstappen down to Schumacher. They all still have to pit as it's 3 wide behind us. 2 Aston Martins and a Sauber. Hulkenberg overtakes Alonso. Really overtakes him, that is, as Albon gets up to P9. But there's still 4 other people to pit. So we're going to be higher than P8 by the time everyone makes their first and one and only pit stop in this race, unless there's like a safety car or anything like that. So it's worked out for us, making that early bold call to come in for the hards earlier than most. The undercuts work, and the undercut, is worked on Gasly as well, because as Verstappen and these lot come in, Gasly will be the P1, a net P1 once they all come in. So the undercut not only worked for me, the undercut worked for Gasly as well. This is unbelievable stuff. This team right now is working like a well-oiled machine for the first time, really. It feels like things are starting to click for not only myself, also Pierre Gasly here. And obviously we've still got a long way to go, 10 laps to go. Gasly leading the way. Obviously Bottas is there close behind, so we'll see how that goes. But for us, it's going to be even better as we overtake Piastri, and we're now going to be on the back of Carlos Sainz. We were obviously fighting Piastri so hard in the sprint on Saturday, got the back of the grid, and now 12 laps into this race, we're already back ahead of Piastri, having been at the back of the grid, just showing that this My Team car genuinely has some amazing pace around Spa. The hard tyres are working wonders. The undercut, 3 laps of it, or 4 laps, actually 4 laps of undercut on Piastri. And if we can get onto the DRS of Verstappen up ahead, there might be more to come. But meanwhile, back at the front, Gasly, I mean, great that he's in P1, but the hard work is not over yet. And that McLaren in the proper conditions is still so quick this season. And the Finn pulls out to the right and is not going to hesitate at making this overtake stick and gets in to P1. McLaren on top again. Surprise, surprise. And whilst Bottas makes the overtake for P1, Piastri making the overtake for P6, but it's making a difference here. For the first time, really, Bottas is the one loving life at the front, and Piastri is the one slumming it for the lower points here, but he's still behind Verstappen. So if it ends like this, Verstappen is going to lead the championship after the Belgian Grand Prix. But like I alluded to, if we can get in DRS of Verstappen, which we are, we can try and bridge the gap to Norris, Gasly and Bottas. The gap is 4 seconds right now on lap 15. 3 laps later, the gap is 2.8. What that is once again the same tactic, the exact same tactic I've done with Schumacher earlier in the race. Verstappen, he's quicker in Sector 2. The Red Bull's just a quicker car in this race, at least versus me, and obviously my tyres are more worn than Verstappen's. But in Sectors 1 and 3, because of my downforce levels and the wing levels and the battery we've got, I'm able to reel him in and just keep up with him. And as a unit, both of us are catching the top 3. So a further 2 laps later, lap 20, the gap is 1.8. So from lap 15 to lap 20, the gap's come down by near enough, like what, 2 point something seconds, nearly 3 seconds by the time we come on to lap 21. Verstappen is just pulling us along. It's almost like we've got a literal tow rope on his rear end, and we're literally just, you know, water skiing through the Belgium GP circuit, and we're just following him along. But now as we go into the last 2 laps of this Grand Prix, I can sense Verstappen is now facing some tyre wear, and through turn 1, we're getting right up to his gearbox. I think now's the time to break the tow rope. We're going to overtake Verstappen and then try and get DRS on Lando Norris. Here we go then with plenty of battery use to the inside at Radion. We get the overtake done on Max Verstappen. We're up into P4. We're 1.4 behind Lando Norris, but with the DRS and battery use in Sector 1 and Sector 3 and the fact Lando's got dirty air from the top 2, we're now within 1 second of the top 3 going on to the last lap. Everyone strap yourselves in because I don't know where this is going to end, but I'm going to give it full beans here to see what we can do. We're definitely going to get this Red Bull, so we're going to get back onto the podium from the back of the grid. But could we do more, or could we just be watching with a bucket of popcorn to see if Gasly can do anything on Bottas as we make the move on our fellow compatriot on the left-hand side down the Kemmel Straight? We're in to 3rd place. We move to the right just to defend the Red Bull car to book in that 3rd place, but now we go and push as hard as we can, use all the battery in the world to close up to Gasly. 4/10 the gap. Gasly 3/10 behind Valtteri Bottas. He leads the way on the last sector of the last lap of this Belgian Grand Prix. As we go through to Blanchimont, his rear light is flashing. He's got no more battery, Bottas does. Gasly is closing. We're closing. Can we go to the outside? Tyre on the grass. Oh, we've hit Bottas. We've made contact with the fin, and through goes Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly on the line is going to take the win in the last corner. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Probably the only mistake I've made this entire race has come in the last corner. I'm sorry, Bottas. I'm sorry. This was the onboard from Gasly, though. I basically punted Bottas into the corner, and Gasly was just able to go to the inside, and on the last corner he overtakes the Finn, and Pierre Gasly is a full Grand Prix race winner for us. That is the onboard from Bottas there. You can see the moment where I made contact with him and he went wide, and this is the slow-mo. So I was going to go to the inside, then I realized these two were going to defend the inside, so I pull out to the left. But I didn't realize how much overspeed I have. I overdid it on the left. I dip a tire into the grass, and you're going to see the front left lock up. That's why I go straight on, and I can't slow the car down. We're so close to Bottas. There's the contact. Front wing broken for us, but it's the last lap, so it won't matter for us. And I guess the FI haven't given us a penalty because it's literally the last lap, maybe a racing incident. I mean, I wouldn't have been mad if they gave us a penalty, but we've kind of got away with it. And to be honest, we've totally finessed McLaren there and got ourselves a team win and Gasly a win today.
What a great race then, and a magnificent victory here at the Belgian Grand Prix. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
Well, what a thrilling end to an incredible Grand Prix weekend. Our top 3 finishers should be incredibly happy with what they were able to achieve out there today.
Well, the reason why we signed him for Season 3 was because he won the Italian Grand Prix in Season 2 in an Alpine, and it's the race before in Season 3, but he's won the Belgian Grand Prix, and we go to Monza next time out, so I can't wait to see what maybe a revved up Pierre Gasly AI could be like, because we know it's all about momentum and focus for the AI, you know, in the last couple of years on the F1 game. So having had a win now, how quick is Gasly going to be as a teammate for next episode, for the remainder of the season? So it's a real good feel story for our team and for me in terms of, you know, well, unintentionally helping Gasly get that win. I was being selfish. I was trying to go for the win myself. And then I made that mistake, dipping the tyre into the grass. My only mistake of the race, but it was a mistake. So I can only apologise to Bottas, but we finessed that. We should have had a penalty. In reality, we should have had a penalty, but we didn't. We finessed it. So we got 3rd place in the end. Bottas got 2nd, and Gasly now is up to 4th place in the championship. But because Piastri and Verstappen, so the gap they had in terms of the sprint and the full Grand Prix, no one gained anything. So the gap is still 3 points from Verstappen to Piastri in the championship, and it's basically a case of the rest of us have all closed up to them. So, you know, I still don't want to get ahead of myself. I think the car still needs work. You know, yes, it might be good at Monza like it was here, but then we're going to go to the next race and it probably might be more towards Silverstone. So I really don't know what the pace is going to say for the rest of the season. We still need upgrades, I think, but have that balance with the Season 4 engine. But what a fantastic race. I mean, apart from the mistake at the end, it was pretty much a 3 million IQ race for us, because the way I played Schumacher and Verstappen to help myself out was just top tier. That was the only way we got from the back of the grid to even going for the race lead on the last lap, last corner. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that one. Hopefully you guys found that entertaining as well. If you did, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly F1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.